The latest chapter of The Young and the Restless isn't just another day in Genoa City. It's an emotional reckoning, painted in quiet glances, trembling words, and the heavy silence that follows the truth too long restrained. In an episode that trades explosive drama for soul-bearing intensity, two women, each carrying the weight of their past, take center stage, and nothing is left untouched by the tremors of their choices. From silence to speech, a soul's reckoning. One of the show's most complex characters steps forward, drawn by an aching need to be heard, not to excuse, but to unburden. She's someone who has always worn strength like armor, someone who fought through pain with grit and love. But today, her strength looks different. It's in her vulnerability. It's in the quiet confession she delivers to someone she once hurt. The moment hangs in the air, suspended between fear and hope, as she finally speaks what she has kept buried under layers of guilt. It's not the kind of apology that expects a quick fix. It's a raw offering, full of pauses and trembles, a moment that exposes the fractures in a heart that's tried too long to hold itself together. Her words land softly, but their impact echoes within her and across the web of relationships she's fighting to repair. Whether she's granted forgiveness is not the point. It's that she finally had the courage to ask. The secret behind the smile. Meanwhile, another woman walks through the episode like she's moving through a dream, detached, guarded, but hiding something enormous beneath the surface. She has played the role of dutiful daughter, of someone steady in the storm, but behind her eyes is a storm of her own making. What she did, what she knows, can't be undone. And though she keeps it tucked behind measured words and calm expressions, it's clear something is unraveling. In fleeting moments, when no one is watching, the truth leaks out. In a twitch of the hand, a glance held too long, a breath caught before a sentence finishes. It's the kind of secret that leaves no one unscathed. And as the episode moves toward its tense conclusion, that secret draws closer to the surface, threatening to dismantle everything she's tried so hard to protect. A study in consequence. What makes this episode powerful isn't just the events, it's the emotional landscape it maps. The episode leans into the subtleties, the shaky resolve of someone trying to make things right, the crushing weight of a conscience quietly breaking, and the question hanging over every scene: what do we owe to the people we love when we've already let them down? The writing is restrained and poignant. No melodrama, no over-the-top showdowns. Just characters caught in moments of reckoning, trying to climb their way out of the shadows they cast themselves into. The camera lingers just long enough to catch a tear, a falter in the voice, the way someone can't meet a loved one's eyes. And through it all, there's a slow-building realization. Truth, when spoken aloud, has the power to reshape everything. It doesn't promise absolution, but it does make room for something even more powerful: growth. Looking ahead, as the credits roll, viewers are left not with answers, but with questions. What happens when love isn't enough to erase the past? Can trust be rebuilt when the foundation has cracked? And how do you forgive someone who's only just learned how to forgive themselves? This episode is a masterclass in quiet storytelling, a reminder that sometimes the most intense drama lives not in grand gestures, but in the courage it takes to whisper, "I'm sorry," and mean it. And for fans who've followed these characters for years, it's a moment of stunning intimacy, a promise that even in a world built on secrets, truth can still break through. Genoa City has always been a place where ambition and emotion collide, and in this episode, we see that sometimes the deepest struggles aren't fought in boardrooms or bedrooms, but inside the heart. Chelsea, letting go of the dream to find herself. The spotlight shines on Chelsea, who has longed to find herself by her talent, her ambition, and her ability to reinvent her life through adversity. But in this moment, she stands at the edge of something deeply personal, a dream she's nurtured, chased, and finally grasped, only to realize it may no longer align with the woman she is becoming. Her decision doesn't come with fanfare. It's quiet, reflective, even a little painful. Because what do you do when everything you've worked for suddenly feels like it belongs to a version of you that no longer exists? The answer isn't simple. But her choice is honest and rooted in a need for something deeper than success: peace, fulfillment, wholeness. As she shares her decision with those close to her, the reactions range from confusion to admiration. But for Chelsea, the clarity comes not from others, but from within. It's a defining moment not of loss, but of self-discovery. Sally, risking it all for something real. At the same time, Sally is facing a very different kind of turning point, one driven not by what she's walking away from, but by what she's willing to leap toward. Sally has always been bold, fierce, fearless in business, quick with a quip, slow to trust. But in this episode, that bravado gives way to something more tender, more risky. She's making a move not just with her heart, but with her future on the line. And she's doing it for someone she believes in, even if the odds are against her. This isn't about climbing a ladder, it's about standing by someone when it counts. Her decision is laced with uncertainty, and yet, it's deeply intentional. In a world where loyalty can be fleeting and motives are often murky, Sally makes a stand. Not for the spotlight, but for something real. What unfolds is a beautifully charged story of two women navigating different paths, one stepping back to rediscover herself, the other stepping forward in faith. And both, in their own ways, are rewriting the narratives that have defined them for too long. The beauty in the shift. The brilliance of this episode isn't just in what happens, it's in how it's told. Through subtle gestures, unspoken emotions, and quiet revelations, The Young and the Restless reminds us that growth is often messy, painful, and uncertain. But it's also brave, beautiful, and necessary. Whether you're rooting for reinvention or risking your heart on love, this episode leaves you with one simple truth. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is choose yourself, even when the world expects otherwise. In Genoa City, boldness is more than a quality. It's a survival tactic. And in this emotionally rich episode of The Young and the Restless, three women, each commanding in her own way, prove that courage doesn't always look the same. Whether through silence, strategy, or sheer force of will, Amanda, Claire, and Phyllis each step into their power, reshaping their personal narratives and shifting the energy around them. Amanda Sinclair, principles over position. Amanda has always walked a delicate line, measured, poised, but never passive. In this episode, she faces a moral fault line that forces her to decide between keeping peace and keeping integrity. What unfolds isn't a grand confrontation, but rather a quiet, deeply personal assertion of boundaries. She chooses the harder path, not because it's easier to walk alone, but because self-respect costs too much to trade away. Her decision doesn't come without consequences. The ripple effects are immediate, and yet, Amanda's presence remains grounded. There's power in the way she doesn't flinch, in the calm refusal to be pushed into compromising who she is. The silence she chooses is as loud as any declaration. Claire Grace, unmasking the self. Claire, still finding her footing in the volatile world of legacy, trust, and identity, experiences a shift that feels like both a beginning and an ending. She's long stood in the shadow of mistakes, some hers, some inherited. But now, she's ready to stop surviving and start living. Her bold move isn't loud, it's intentional. It comes from a desire to reclaim agency and reshape how others see her. There's vulnerability beneath her courage, and that's what makes it hit hardest. She's not running anymore, she's choosing. And in a town where choice is often mistaken for weakness, Claire's resolve rings like thunder. Phyllis Summers, the queen, makes a move. And then there's Phyllis. Brilliant, ruthless, unapologetically complicated. When others hesitate, Phyllis acts. And in this episode, she plays her hand with precision. It's a classic Phyllis power move, sharp, timed, and just disruptive enough to make people nervous. What's fascinating isn't the move itself, it's what's driving it. This isn't just about leverage or one-upping an opponent. It's about control, about redemption, about taking back something she feels was stolen. Beneath the scheming is a woman determined to remind the world that she's still a force to be reckoned with. But even for someone as seasoned as Phyllis, every game has its risk, and this one feels personal. The emotional undercurrent. What ties these three arcs together isn't the drama, it's the weight of self-worth. Each woman, in her own way, draws a line in the sand. Amanda chooses dignity over comfort. Claire chooses presence over fear. Phyllis chooses strategy over surrender. The episode's beauty lies in its restraint. It doesn't rely on explosive twists. Instead, it invites us into the inner worlds of characters who are often misunderstood. Through sharp writing, subtle performances, and moments that simmer rather than boil, The Young and the Restless delivers a masterclass in character evolution. In Genoa City, deception always leaves a trail, and sometimes, the most painful lies aren't the ones shouted, but the ones whispered in trust. In this gripping episode, one relationship reaches its boiling point as Victoria Newman confronts the unthinkable, and in doing so, reclaims her sense of power, pride, and painful clarity. The slow crumble of illusions. Victoria has always been a woman of ambition and strength, a pillar of grace under pressure. She doesn't trust easily, but when she does, she invests fully. That's what made her connection with Cole so significant. Not just love, but belief. Belief in who he was, what he stood for, and what they could build together. But belief, like glass, is delicate. And when cracks form, they spread fast. In this episode, a truth long buried begins to surface, one that shakes the very foundation of their relationship. The image she held of Cole begins to distort, and she's forced to ask the question no one wants to ask. Was any of it real? Betrayal that cuts deep. The revelation doesn't come as a dramatic outburst. It arrives quietly, insidiously. A detail overlooked. A pattern that doesn't add up. A moment that, once seen in the right light, can't be unseen. Victoria begins connecting dots, and with each connection, her heart sinks deeper. When the truth is finally undeniable, it isn't just anger she feels, it's humiliation, it's heartbreak, and most of all, it's the fury of being manipulated by someone she trusted with her deepest vulnerabilities. What stings most is not the act itself, but what it represents, a complete breach of emotional intimacy. A betrayal not just of a partner, but of the faith she extended in someone who, it turns out, had been hiding behind a mask. The confrontation. The confrontation between Victoria and Cole isn't loud, but it's volcanic beneath the surface. Her words are measured but cutting, her tone calm but devastating. Cole tries to explain, but explanations are feeble things when the damage is already done. What unfolds isn't just a breakup, it's a reckoning. A moment in which one person reclaims their dignity and the other is forced to sit with the consequences of dishonesty. Victoria doesn't plead, doesn't negotiate. She draws a clear line and crosses it alone, leaving behind whatever future they thought they were building. After the storm, in the final scenes, we see the emotional debris scattered across both lives. For Victoria, there is heartbreak, but also resolution. Pain, but also empowerment. She walks away not shattered, but sharpened. And in doing so, reminds viewers of her greatest strength, her ability to rise, even after the deepest fall. For Cole, there's only silence. The silence of regret. The silence of a door closed not with rage, but with resolve. Why this moment matters. This episode isn't just a breakup, it's a masterclass in emotional storytelling. It reminds us that trust, once broken, can't be patched together with apologies or excuses. And that walking away can sometimes be the most courageous, most necessary form of self-love. As the screen fades to black, the message lingers. The truth may hurt, but it also sets us free.